There we go.
All right, let me get you on a full screen here. You sound great. You look good, as always. And we just watched your movie, and let me tell you, I was just telling everyone, I never got to see it in the theaters. I think it was Daylight Savings was playing at the same time.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and I just never got to see it. I kept here. I'm going to turn you down a little bit. And every time I finally watched it at home on the DVD, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I think I texted you a message or two about it. And but boy, sitting here in a dark theater with surround sound is so. Watching a movie in a theater where you're just immersed is so different than watching something at home when there's distractions. And let me tell you, your movie particularly, I think, you get sucked in, and boy, it's like impossible to like break out of it. Whereas when you're at home, and I know you've like dealt with people. I know you've dealt with people. HP is very funny because he's very much on Twitter and stuff. And when it was first available, I remember people would like tweet something. I'm watching this movie about a ghost and it's boring or something like that. And you'd get on and you'd start talking to him. You'd be like, just wait, man, it gets better. Or it doesn't get better, but you got to like.
It's funny because I remember the person was like, watching this awesome movie right now. And people tweeting back, oh, what is it? It's called I Am a Ghost. And then all of a sudden saying, like, man, this is boring. And all I would tweet back is, put down the phone.
Yeah. Get off the phone and start watching. Yeah, it's great, man. I love this movie.
Thank you.
So we've got a lot of questions for you. I'm going to ask a few that are probably the standard questions that you've been asked at Q&As. And then we've got about 25 people here or so watching, and so we'll turn it over to them in a little bit. But the first thing I want to ask you about is, as I explained to them, your previous films were all extremely different, and that this was a real departure for you stylistically and thematically and genre-wise. And I'd love to hear you kind of talk about that and like why and wherefore, and I'm sure you've talked about it dozens and dozens of times, but.
Well, it's funny because when I first said I was going to make a film, everyone's like, oh, okay, it's probably going to be a horror film. And I said, well, no, it's that musical that I want to do. And everyone kind of looked at me and said, well, why won't it be a horror film? I mean, you love horror films, and people use horror as a genre to get their foot in the door. So once I got past two musicals, when people found out I was doing a horror film, they thought that was the strangest decision in the world. Like I was taking a step backwards,
Right.
And for me, I felt like I was kind of working towards something. I'm not saying that either of those genres are aspirational, but for me, I just felt like I was working towards something. For example, I Am a Ghost was a script that kind of sat around, and I was hoping one day I would have enough clout to make it, because I remember thinking to myself, Colma and Fruit Fly, both of them are musical comedies, but for the most part, they're pretty accessible,
Yeah.
They have a definite, like, very traditional beginning, middle, and end, and I Am a Ghost, for the most part, or as my mom would put it, seems defective. My mom saw it at the Castro Theater, and
oh man, that would have been awesome to have seen it there.
To leave it to my mom, she says, yeah, I thought there was something wrong with the movie because it kept playing over and over again. But it was different. It was different.
Don't we love our mothers?
But what's interesting is everyone said, well, then that's great that you had the experience under your belt doing, helming something like Fruit Fly. Now you can work with a larger budget, a larger cast. Oh, your film only has one person. And why would you take this big step backwards? And for me, it's not about a step backwards or a step forward. I think I always wanted to do I Am a Ghost. It was a story that I wanted to do. And really what happened was I explained, Julia Kwan, she's the director of Eating the Fire Horse.
Yeah, for sure.
So she came to visit one year. It was like 2010. And we went to lunch. She said, what's your next film? I said, what's this other comedy I'm working on? And she kind of glazed over, She's like, oh yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, but she didn't seem to want to pay attention. And halfway through, she says, do you have any horror movies that you want to do? I said, wow, what a question. Why? She says, I'm just sort of into horror right now. So I told her, we had so much time, I basically just told her the entire storyline. It goes from like the first shot to last. And she said, when do you plan to do that? I said, frankly, I'm a nobody who makes these really cheap musicals. One day, it'll be a film I do sometime. And she said, well, maybe it's not one day. Maybe that's the next film. I mean, that really should be the next film. And I remember just thinking, like, well, thanks for the vote of confidence, but I highly doubt that. Where am I going to get that kind of money? And she said, well, isn't that how you guys felt when you were saying I'm going to step into the arena and make a musical? So yeah, I was like, oh, and that kind of got the fire going. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to fund this myself. So yeah, I'm a ghost. We said, let's just treat it like Coleman the Musical. Let's treat it like Fruit Fly. We basically have a story that has to be told. We'll tell it in any way possible. And that's how I came from cheap musicals to making cheap horror films.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I tell my, I studied art, and I was in New York. I was an artist in New York, and then I decided to kind of switch to film. And I would say, yeah, I went from being a starving artist to a starving filmmaker. It wasn't that hard of a transition. Okay, so let's talk about this production, because one of the reasons why I wanted everyone to see this was because I think this is a very empowering film. Because, well, when you first told me about it, it was when we were doing Yes, We're Open. And we were chatting, and you were saying, yeah, I'm making this movie, and we're looking for a location, and
We were shooting at the same time.
Right. And I said, oh, I'd love to, help out. And you said, well, we don't really have a crew. I was like, oh. So tell me about that. Tell me about how many days you shot, what your crew size was, and sort of the logistics of actual production.
We had 7 shooting days, and that's principal.
Right.
I think we did like 2 pickup days, and that's mostly because I just wanted to shoot it prettier. I thought I kind of messed it the first time around, so it's not like it's anything that we found.
How many? I'm sorry. How many pickup days?
2 pickup days.
A whopping 2.
We had a crew. Basically, me and my partner Mark DeLima were the people behind the camera at all times. He did set design and prop design. L.A. Rennigan from both Coleman and Fruit Fly. She drove to San Francisco because she just wanted to be a part of it for 2 days. And by being a part of it, I kind of assumed she just wanted to hang out. I didn't realize she was going to want to do so much.
Right.
To the point where she had spreadsheets ready, and she said, okay, well, we need this and that. And that, you're actually being sort of Rasat's line producer. And then we had a makeup person. So we had me, Mark, L.A., and Diana, the makeup person. And we had a body double for Anna. So those are the people who were kind of like waiting off in the wings. Then you had Anna and Jeannie, who plays Sylvia, the sidekick, and Rick, who plays the demon. And those are our on cameras who are sort of around every day.
Wow.
It's pretty small. It's bare bones.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. And you are the writer, director, cinematographer, editor, composer. Sylvia Fernandez did sound. Okay, that was in the credits.
Sylvia Fernandez is a pseudonym I've used since college.
Okay,
I've used that for the past.
I wondered about that. Yeah, I wondered about that because I was like, I thought HP did the sound, and this Sylvia person's awesome, but I've never heard of her.
Yeah, it was a name I came up with. Where we had a 1-act play competition, and at some point I wrote an extra play just to get these other actors who wanted to act together. Little did I know I was actually kind of matchmaking at the time. This is like 18 years ago, and I wrote another play just to get these 2 together. And I wrote it under the name Sylvia Fernandez, and kind of stuck. So whenever I feel like I'm seeing my name too many times, the name Sylvia Fernandez.
Sylvia starts working. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna ask one more question. But I wanted to say I introduced you as being one of the most talented people I know. Not only that, he's a very good actor. So he's an exceptionally good actor. So Tell me about Anna. Speaking of good actors, tell me about Anna. And I mean, she's so great in this, and where obviously she must have been super game. And just tell me about
I wouldn't say super game.
that.
She's a pretty accomplished stage actor who I kind of stopped. Basically, I did a read through of this work from a new playwright in San Francisco about 12 years ago, and that's when I first met Anna. And I remember thinking to myself, God, she is so intense. Who is this person? And everyone's like, oh, you don't know Anna Ishida? She teaches at Shakespeare. She teaches at Cal Shakes. She does. If there's any, how was it put to me? If there's any play in the Bay Area that requires a really intense mother grieving over the death of the son, it's going to be Anna Ishida. And actually, so when I asked her about it, I said, I heard that you're really good at playing mother grieving over sons. And she said, I'm getting business cards made. It's going to say Anna Ishida. I play bitches, mothers, and lesbians. And I remember after some time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go check out anything she's in. And every single time, I was just kind of blown away. And when I messaged her and said, hey, don't know if you remember me, I have this script that I would love for you to read. And she responded this huge, like on Facebook, the message was like this block of text. And she says, hell yeah, God, you know what? I saw Coma the Musical and I saw Fruit Fly, and I'm so glad that you're contacting me because I love Fruit Fly, and I would love to have been in Fruit Fly, and I would love to read what you have in mind for me because I'm so tired of being in all these dark productions. I would love to do something lighter, something doesn't require me to sort of explore the darkness in me anymore. And I said, well, funny you should say that. And I remember I sent her the PDF, and I didn't hear back from her for like a week, and I felt really weird. And I was like, oh crap. And it was more than the darkness, actually. When she said she was willing to be in one of my films, she really just wanted to have like a singing role and like she said she wanted to play one of the lesbians in Fruit Fly, is what she said, which is basically like 20 minutes of screen time. She knew her name was Emily, and she knew it was a darker piece. And she noticed that every page had her name on it. And freaked out. She said, wait, this doesn't get cast in lead roles. So yeah, it took some time to calm her down. And the first day on set, she finally sort of grabbed me and she says, listen, this is the first film I've ever done. I have never been in front of a camera. I need you to direct the shit out of me. And I said, sure, that's good, because I'm a director. And it took some time, it took a few hours, and I think by day 2, she got a little out of her system, and we sort of became really good friends. And we kind of shaped the movie together.
That's awesome. Her performance was great. It's just great. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to other people now. I'm just kind of playing with Skype where we started to hang up a bit. If you're here and it starts to do that a bit, just go out of the full screen thing. That's all it is, I think. So HP, great to see you. HP is actually has a cameo in my movie that I've got a trailer that's about to go out. We're going to do a Kickstarter and to get some money for post. We've got
nice.
Almost a finished locked edit, so not quite there yet. But anyway, doing as pretty incredibly part-time. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over, and great to see you, and I'll probably chat before we hang up. So
okay, I'll talk to you in a bit.
Who's first? Come on, don't be shy.
Hey boss, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Everybody's terrified to talk to you, I guess. I don't know why. So I thought the movie was great. I don't know what people on Twitter were talking about with the pacing. I honestly felt like the pacing, it made a lot of sense the further you got into the show. How you revealed different pieces and everything like that. But in your planning for the filming and how you wanted to portray that story, how do you figure out that pacing and that drive that you wanted?
So I think it started off with me just kind of going through a bunch of old memories that I had of my own, kind of going through old, like, you ever go through old, like, videotapes? You're like, oh, these are videotapes. I haven't touched a tape in years. And I'm digitizing all this stuff and kind of going through all of this and realizing that, like, there's a kind of creepy feeling I have after a while, like, oh, wow, I wonder if a lot of, like, old people in these videos are dead. And it's it. I look at the old, so I'm just like, there's something kind of haunting of about them alive, and just knowing that they're not alive now. And I always told everybody I would love to make a horror film that actually had a really confusing pace. You know, it's a steady pace. It's a very steady pace. But the purpose of actually having the repetitions, even though I like the idea of the repetitions, meaning that a lot of these things are about, you know, repeating incidents or memories in your life, I really also wanted to repeat them enough times where it became maddening and they become your memories. So that way, the second time you see it, especially by the third time you see a certain shot, you are almost like saying, okay, now this is going to happen next, now that's going to happen next. Truth be told, the first cut of the film was something like 84 minutes long, and it had all the repetitions that I really wanted. It had much longer dialogue scenes. And there was sort of a disparity, I think, because in what happened was you had a lot of people who were like, oh, this feels like a Bergman film, and all of a sudden it goes to this dialogue scene that goes for too long. So what I actually did trim down was more dialogue. I left all the repetition in place, but I trimmed the dialogue down.
Yeah, and I noticed with the dialogue between the ghost and the actual medium, like it was very casual in a sense, but also it didn't feel like it was just spouting exposition. It felt like it was more so in the moment kind of situation. And how do you kind of balance that in your script work to make sure that it doesn't feel like you're just let's just fill in some story right here?
Right. Luckily, because the truth is the first conversation is all exposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so is the second. But I wanted to make sure that it was always kind of stepping in the right direction. And the one thing that I was lucky enough to have were the constraints that it's sort of like these design principles of storytelling that I made up just for Iron Ghost, which is like, let's make sure we never let on how old Emily is. Let's make sure let's not go for like accurate language, because that gives people a chance to just say, oh, well, she's not using contractions, therefore she's really Victorian and it takes place in 18,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure it's not a conversation, but let's imply severity just with the language, not with actually using old English.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all these constraints that allowed me to just say, okay, well, what do you want to get across in Act 1? What do you want to get across in Act 2? And what do you want to get across by Act 3? And so what that allows me to do while I'm writing it is say, okay, we want to get across the idea that we don't really have a time frame for this film. How do we do that? Let's do it in a way that you would actually see in most expository dialogue in action films. Like, how much time has passed, Sylvia? She says, I can't tell you that. Why? Because you freaked out last time. End of story.
There it is.
And the same thing goes for the dress and everything else. And frankly, the idea that she has a Victorian dress does go against the fact that she has an electric lamp, right?
Mm-hmm.
But truth be told, if she has a Victorian dress, she wouldn't have 70s Farrah Fawcett hair. I really kind of wanted a lot of these anachronisms. A lot of it was based on the fact that I love Picnic at Hanging Rock. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a Peter Weir film. It's an early 70s Peter Weir film. It takes place in 1909. And everybody in the film, it's impeccable. It looks like it takes place in 1909, except all women have 70s hair. And I kind of wanted to pay homage to that with Iron Ghost. So yeah, I was like, my main thing was, as long as I fill the movie with anachronisms, I can make the dialogue as expository as possible, or as I want, because it'll always feel alienating.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Cool, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Who's next?
How's it going?
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So I really liked your film a lot. It reminded me of a lot of those really nice Victorian ghost stories. I know you said that you weren't wanting that Victorian, but it had that nice feel to it.
I mean, I love them. I did want to make that, but I never actually wanted to use the word Victorian. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I want people like you to recognize that. You know,
Yeah.
and everyone else can say it was old.
Well, one of my questions is what films kind of inspired with the telling of your story? Because I felt like I could see elements of The Changeling in there, that old film, as
Mm-hmm.
well as Turn of the Screw and a few others of those kind of films. I wasn't sure if you kind of tried to mimic past ghost stories or.
I think we're actually at a point now where everything owes itself to Turn of the Screw. You know.
Yeah.
But truth be told, you're also talking about a certain era, and for me, another sort of principle that I had was let's make this feel storytelling-wise, visually, even audibly. Let's make it feel like this could have been made in 1975. Because that's honestly, there's just an era of ghost stories and films that really kind of freak me out. Do you know The Haunting?
Yes, I do.
That's 1961, so it's earlier. So I mean, visually it doesn't look like The Haunting, but The Haunting is one of those films in which I'm just watching people walk down hallways, or I'm just watching people talk about what they think might be happening. It freaked me out. I still think it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And there's just a certain gothic quality to it that isn't overtly gothic, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one. Again, Picnic at Hanging Rock's the main one that really shapes sort of the aesthetic and the sound especially.
Yeah.
Especially the music. I was like, oh my god, I love the music of Picnic at Hanging Rock, which eventually inspired the music for the Virgin Suicides. But yeah, I think probably any ghost story between 1961 and like 1979, like any film ghost story. I think that's. I guess I'm dating myself. That's what I watched growing up. You know.
Well, that's what I watched too. So.
Yeah. I even tried to watch the remakes of these things. They remade The Haunting. You didn't know that?
Yep.
It's an action film. When you watch the trailer, it's hilarious because it says, based on the Shirley Jackson novel, The Haunting, from the director of Twister and Speed. You know? So I would recommend to all of you, if you can watch it, just forget that Jan Bond even remade it. Just watch the original.
So my next question deals with your sound design. At what moment did you start having ideas for the score and all the elements that you wanted for sound? Was that from the very beginning you knew what you wanted? Or is it as you were shooting or after?
So the sound design is something that I had like as early as the script writing process. Mostly because I realized that I'm basically kind of playing like audio experiments with like people's memories. I always thought to myself, well, it's probably best if I have the yawn shot after the bucket drop shot because that's a big loud clang and then another loud vocalization, so that way it actually kind of carves a groove in your brain. So the next time you see it, you're calling it out. So when she sees herself yawning, it'll happen after a bucket clang. So like that, in that aspect, that was in the script. The score, on the other hand, was something that came after, because I had it in my head. That I would not have a score at all. I like the idea of that wailing that happens at the end. I don't know if you guys can hear this wailing that as a whole, like house goes dark, there's this wailing. That's actually. My partner was in Tokyo at the time, and he was working on some of the effects from his office in Tokyo while I was working over here in San Francisco. And he was like, yeah, there's a typhoon happening right now. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a carnival of souls. I've never heard what a typhoon sounds like. And he recorded it, and I was like, record more. And I thought to myself, that's going to be the soundtrack of the film. And truth be told, I like the idea of having that kind of carnival of souls wailing sound for the film. But after a while, I was like, I really do like composing music. I really do. I was trying to take a break from it because I hate being pigeonholed, but went back and watched Picnic at Hanging Rock again and listened to the score for Virgin Suicide, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's do this. Let me compose this, and if it feels like too much, then I'll let it go. And after a while, I feel like halfway through composing, I said, I can't imagine this movie without music now. So the music, I don't want to say it was an afterthought, but it definitely was after.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. It was a great film. I'm going to put it on the shelf next to those others. So.
Awesome. Wow, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So I kind of want to just ask kind of a more broad question. You're obviously a really creative person with the work you've done, and I kind of just wanted to hear a little bit about like how you go about maintaining creativity, how you think of something and then actually put it out there. So like,
I think I just do whatever comes to mind.
yeah.
You know, I feel like I don't care if anyone feels this is stupid. You know, I mean, it's really funny when I look at people who are just getting shit done out there. Sorry, excuse me. You know, I need to
You're
stop
fine.
swearing.
You're fine.
Who are doing things out there because I think to myself, well, they must be really wealthy. You know, because I'm not a wealthy person at all. If I were wealthy, I wouldn't have shot Iron Ghost for $7,000. You know, but it's one of those cases where I have to look back. I'm always proud of what I do, but whenever people say like, "Wow, you're so prolific," you know, you do all these films. I'm like, "No, really, I do a film like every 3-4 years because I'm trying all these other things in between."
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm trying. I have a ton of these short films out there too, and I do a lot of corporate work and commercials and spots for things. I work for other people's films, but sometimes I do try something and it just never catches on. You know, I tried to do a political comedy, and I got kind of swayed and did I Am a Ghost. I tried to do a musical that takes place in a mall, and I got swayed and I ended up doing a musical that takes place in a mall in San Francisco. And I just tried all of these things. No matter how stupid it sounds, you know, I have a lot of these ideas that people think I'm scratching their heads like, oh yeah, that's interesting, you know. And I feel like for as long as I'm funding my own stuff, because my stuff is always done on cheap anyway. As long as I'm doing my own stuff, I should have permission to fail, you know. And if all of you, and when I say all of you, I don't mean you, but I mean like when I'm kind of saying like general view,
Yeah.
like if all of you never know about my failures, that's okay. But even if you do know about my failures, you seem to pay attention to my successes, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like no matter what I do, and Kulma, by the way, the first one I did, I mean, that cost like $15,000. It's a musical, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, if that failed, that's okay. That's like crashing a used car, you know.
True.
So it's not like those horror stories I've heard from people where they actually they sold their house just so they can make a film. It wasn't that bad. So you might be talking to the wrong person because my main thing is just do it cheaply.
No, I think that's awesome.
Let
Just to
yourself
go
fail.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
just go for it, and of course you have to be smart about it. You don't risk everything. You don't risk
Yeah.
your house. But I just have this thing where I feel like whenever I get people onto a project and they say, "Hey, by the way, this might fail," that's like one of the first things I say, and isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not everyone agrees with that. Sometimes people on set are just like, "Geez, that did not instill anything in me." But within like 3 days of the shoot, they just feel like it's infectious. They're like, "Oh, but we are having fun."
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm just rambling.
No, I feel like it makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, who's next? Come on up, people. Don't be shy. I want to check one thing. I have this, I keep trying to.
Whoa, I'm recursive.
Yeah, it's weird. I keep trying. I don't know what's going on with that. I keep trying to. Let me close this because that's taken. Keep trying to record these, but I've never had any success. I have this vision. I have this vision of having a YouTube channel where you could see all these great interviews, and I haven't yet succeeded. And I thought I had it this time, but it turns out apparently I haven't. So
You should talk to Dave because he uses GChat and he saves like all these 4-hour conversations.
I know.
that he has.
I don't know what he's doing. I should talk to Dave. I talk to Dave too much. I should talk to Dave about this. Okay. Anyone else have any other questions for HP? Okay, we got someone come up.
Hey.
Hi.
So I was just kind of wondering, first of all, I really like the film. I thought you did some really cool things with it. And I was wondering what what would you have changed about it? I mean, it seems like nobody's ever fully satisfied with a project. Like what are your regrets or things you wish you would have done more with?
Um, oh man, I wish you asked me that a year ago. They were fresher in my mind back then, and I think after a year's worth of traveling with the film, it just kind of became what it is. And I can't imagine it any other way now. But I think if I were to watch it, I wish I were there with you because they would be fresh in my mind. One of the things I think I would have changed for sure is, and again, I was building up anachronistic worlds anyway. I wanted to have this thing that's kind of like defied time. But I would have liked to have gotten rid of all the light switches. I would like to have it so that way things are lit by lanterns. Because I mean, almost all the sunlight in the movie's fake. So it's like you didn't need those lanterns, those lamps there. Like they're just kind of sitting there, like oh look, we're in the 20th century. But there's that for sure. I think if I were to go back, I would also probably. I'll be honest, and this is a strange thing to say, but I feel like I probably would have made a bigger deal about the demon's nudity, because I really wanted to make a point of the film feeling like a very female film and feeling very very kind of reserved and steady, and then all of a sudden. Penis, like being chased by this penis around the house. The film was really handheld and shady, and I really wanted it to be very jarring. And the truth is, I think when you see it on the big screen, I mean, you guys have big screens there, so that's great. So spending 2.5 years in the film festivals, it felt good to say, oh look, yeah, there you go. This isn't that a shock. But then I talked to people who've been watching it on their laptops, and they just kind of figured maybe I blurred out his penis. I'm like, no, I didn't blur it out. It's just your screen's really small, or so I feel like I maybe I'm not talking about like zooming in, like finding a way to make a point of this sort of feral male creature.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's awesome. But I mean, I get what you're trying to say. I mean, it's yeah. Well, cool. I mean, that was really the main thing I was wondering. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I got one question. I don't know if there's anybody else. It's kind of a quiet crowd tonight. But tell me about the location and where you found that. I know somebody found it. It was like up in Moran or something.
No. Actually, it's a couple of blocks from my place.
Really?
I basically it's
well,
funny how
the interior is a couple blocks from your place.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the exterior, the house?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I want to know about both.
So basically, I'm used to working super no budget films. I'm sure you are too, Duane. You know what I mean? Like when you write a script and you have a bunch of producers saying, "Does it have to be this? Because we can do that instead." Right. And for I Mendoza, I felt like I want control of this. I've been dreaming about this film and like writing it for years. I don't want to not have a staircase. I don't want to have some facsimile of the attic that I have in my head. So that required us to shoot in a bunch of different places. And luckily, there's a place called the Inn SF, which is a couple of blocks from my place here in the Mission in San Francisco. And it's this bed and breakfast. It's gay owned, and it has like all this gay memorabilia everywhere. So it's a really bright and cheery place, And so we had to do all kinds of things like blaring light through the windows and like kind of like stopping the camera down to make it seem shadowy, But the attic is just something I had in my head because of movies like Don't Go Into the Attic or Beetlejuice, and we just don't have attics like that here in the West Coast. We don't, And to find out that there were attics like that in the East Coast, I was like, okay, well, we can check that out. But a lot of them were kind of run down. You really couldn't shoot in them. So the reverse of the interior of the attic is actually just my living room. The exterior of the house was the house we found in Maine. The attic was the actual storage attic of our makeup person, Diana Tennis, who's in Vallejo. and we had to stitch all of that together. And it made me realize I am proud of the concessions I made in the past for films. I'm like, look at this, we're so rough and tumble, and we can do anything with a limited budget. But after a while, I was like, what would happen if I didn't concede? What if I actually kept the geography in my head? Because I'll be completely honest, I don't want to point out scenes from previous movies, but there are often times when I'm watching. I was in a hotel and I happened across Colma playing the Sundance Channel, and I was like, that geography is all wrong. That doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to anybody who's never seen something before.
Right.
But Colma's kind of based on my life, and I wanted to kind of match what I had. I don't know if that makes it better, but it just makes it what I want.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for the first time, I was stubborn. I was stubborn about like, no, it must look like this, it must look like that. And frankly, I do think that if you watch the movie, I feel like you understand the geography of how that works, or how the staircase going to the attic works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it never even kind of crossed my mind that this is multiple places. I should know better, but I was caught up in the film. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Sorry, are you doing okay? You good for another question?
Sure.
How you doing?
Hi, good, how are you?
I'm good. So, referring to micro-budget filmmaking and having those things on your mind while you're writing and while you're shooting, how do you balance your aspirations of the film while you're writing, for any point of the film with what your budget is going to be? Do you find yourself like when you were writing I Am a Ghost, did you find yourself stopping and saying, well, I probably shouldn't do that, or I probably should write that differently because I'm not going to have an unlimited budget?
That was not the case with I Am a Ghost. I wrote I Am a Ghost thinking this is like one day I'll be famous and I'll have like millions of dollars, I did not even write with budget in mind. There were a few times I was actually asked to write a script with budget in mind. One of them being Yes, We're Open, Duane. And Duane, by the way, that sounded wrong. I didn't mean that Duane asked me to do that, but I was asked to just kind of like make a character piece and remember, let's keep this micro budget. But for I'm a Ghost, literally, I thought that maybe one day I would have like tons of money, and frankly, I'm glad I did that because that was the case for my previous musicals. I mean, really, we've had people, like various producers, break down those two scripts, these two musicals I wrote, and each of them were like, oh yeah, you need at least $250,000. One of them said you need like $500,000. So when we did averages for those first two scripts, on average, people said Colma should cost $500,000 to make, and Fruit Fly should have cost $850,000 to make. Well, Colma cost $15,000 to make, and Fruit Fly cost $27,000. And that was sort of a learning lesson for me. I was like, I shouldn't write for a budget, because that never stifled the story, because you end up thinking like a producer, not like a writer, There's a reason why you hire a producer, or there's a reason why you be a writer in the moment and you decide to produce later on. But I feel like, Yes, We're Open aside, because I actually thought Yes, We're Open was a very funny movie. There were times that I actually had to write for a budget, and for the most part, I felt like I want there to be this scene where somebody dies, but I don't want to have to think of how that's going to happen. I want there to be this gory scene, but I don't want to have to think about how much the blood effects are going to be, So I just write.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think we'll let you go unless there's any other questions. I do want to talk to you eventually. I think you should hook me up with Sylvia because the sound in this movie was great, and it's been great to see you and say hi to Mark, and I hope everything's going good. Oh, and you have something coming out this weekend. What is that?
Yeah, it's sort of it's a crazy month because my new doc is opening this Friday, and I also am having my first few meetings for the next film that I'm doing, which is an animated comedy. So sort of December is a crazy month.
Sounds awesome.
You can find the trailer actually online. It's, the new movie is called Now and at the Hour.
Called what?
Oh, Now and at the Hour.
Now and at the Hour. I've seen you post things on Facebook. I just haven't had a chance to open it up.
Yeah, it was Friday. I just did a tech check at the theater today. It's crazy.
Awesome. Well, good luck and
Thank you.
everything. I've loved everything you've done. So I'm sure it'll be a great success. So, all right.
Thank you.
Best to you, sir. Thank you.
All right, Duane.
Bye bye.
Thank you.